Nick Mohammed plays Nate the Great in Apple's Ted Lasso. I'm at Able Gold Derby, here to ask you, Nick, what is the greatest thing about Nate?
I think the greatest thing about Nate is, well, it's his journey. I think that growth in confidence that Ted instills in him. So it's not necessarily a quality of his own, but it's something that I think typifies, all of Ted's interactions with everyone. He just fills them with so much kind of optimism and hope. He's such a positive force in everyone's lives that he kind of interacts with. So, whether they know it or they don't. And with Nate, obviously, it allows him to sort of build in confidence and be able to sort of speak his mind. And he's never been in a position to do that before. And I guess Ted sort of sees him for who he really is, which is this really super knowledgeable guy about the game. And so, without that, no one else would have known. The fact that he gets promoted at the end that would never have happened without Ted.
Yeah, and we really Nate's a great character because we get to see him live sort of his dream. He's always he loves football, he loves the club so much, but was so on the periphery before Ted comes, and he really gets brought into the fold. And I think that's really a lovely part of that journey, is seeing Nate get to sort of live out his sort of footballing dream, even though he's not one of the players.
Yes.
What do you think was what was for you the biggest sort of oh boy, I'm living out my dream moment in making Ted Lasso?
Gosh, I think there were so many. We filmed it over quite a long time, and it's almost a cliche now to always say, oh, we had a great cast and crew and everyone got on. Yeah. I honestly can't say enough. It's something really special. That cast and crew of Ted Lasso, particularly as we're filming season 2 at the moment, and with all the restrictions in place as well, it kind of heightens everything. But it is such a lovely bunch of people, and I think some of the authenticity of the show, some of that kind of positive energy, genuinely comes from the fact that we get to interact with each other in such a fun way. It's an absolute delight that the show has taken to people's hearts in such a wonderful way, and sort of truly kind of grateful for that. But yeah, I mean, there were so many sort of set pieces in the show where I was like, I just can't believe that we're filming this. I remember when we filmed on the Crystal Palace, the grounds there, and it was just just kind of obviously never been in there before, and that's kind of eye-opening and jaw-dropping. But so much stuff, getting to be in a show created by Bill Lawrence and Jason Sudeikis and all the other creative talent on that show. It's really joyful, and every day I'm like, kind of can't believe that we're getting to do this, and that it is such, get to interact with such lovely people.
You talked a bit about how Ted gives Nate a real confidence, and that really reaches probably its height in a scene where you are given the task of geeing up the team and giving a motivational speech where Nate really comes out of his shell. What was it like for you filming that scene, and how did that go?
It was a really fun scene to film. I knew it was coming, even though I remember when I got the part and when we started doing read-throughs of the early episodes. I think that's not till episode 7 is that scene. And I remember Jason telling me about it and saying, this Nate's arc is all about this sort of growing confidence, and there's this particularly kind of pivotal point that comes in episode 7. And so I kind of knew about it ahead of us shooting it, and I think I might have even been sent the script a little bit earlier as well, so I had time to kind of really look at it. And it was just so much fun, because I guess what I really like, I mean, not least because there's lots of people in that scene, so it was fun to bounce off everyone, but also because it felt like there was a little bit of everything in that scene. It starts off with Nate being quite timid and insecure and can't quite believe he's gonna deliver this speech, and then he really gets into his stride, and he's sort of roasting the other players, and their interactions are price. If their reactions to some of the stuff he's saying are absolutely priceless. But then it takes on a slightly maybe more deeper or more kind of emotional slants when he's talking to Roy, because I think with Nate and Roy there's almost that kind of brotherly quality to it, and the thing he says to Roy I think really does genuinely affect Roy, in the right kind of way. And Nate would have never dared say anything like that, well, to anyone before, and least of all Roy, really. But he speaks a lot of truth to him, and so I think it was fun that it just, even within that scene, it had kind of like a mini journey to itself. So yeah, it was really fun to play that.
Yeah. Do you have like a moment that you found the funniest to act out or to be a part of?
There was a scene. I mean, there were so many scenes. Probably stuff that we had to cut, because I was often in the firing line. Jason and Brendan in particular. There was a lot of scenes where it was just on the sidelines, or in the office, the coach's office, where it's the three of us, and they're so good at improvising and kind of keeping a scene running. I was often in the firing line for a lot of that, and so I would kind of those scenes. If Jason would improvise a little bit, they would always make me laugh. I remember there was a particular scene, I can't remember which episode. It's the episode where we believe that there's like the spirit of someone kind of haunting the club. And I can't remember the specific scene, and some of it might not have even made the cut. But we were just all kind of falling about, laughing about how sort of silly the whole kind of concept was, really. But it was, so much of that stuff with Beard and with Lasso. I will always sort of just be laughing, sort of trying to hide my face so I'm not ruining the scene.
What's it like being like Ted Lasso comes in to Richmond Football Club and he's rubbing a lot of people the wrong way. There's a lot of like clashes, like whether it's Hannah or Roy or Jamie, like they're all sort of like got their different sort of Nate's sort of up for most of what Ted is. And like, what's it like being a character on the show that isn't like butting heads with Ted as much, but he's sort of more going along for Ted's ride?
Yeah, it's interesting because often great comedy comes from great conflict, and but I guess with Ted and Nate in season one there is that feel that this is a guy who he really appreciates what Ted is doing. I think he appreciates the fact that someone is coming into the club and shaking things up. And I think he sees past, Nate is so reserved in lots of ways. I think he sees past any of the kind of points of conflict that Rebecca has with Ted. He certainly doesn't see him in any way as some kind of competition or someone who can take anything away from him. I think because Nate is sort of not rock bottom, but he's certainly, in terms of status, he's pretty low down there. So the fact that Ted even talks to him, and I think he even says, that he knows his name, and Nate even says, "I can't believe you know my name." Like how he's so Nate is sort of like, crikey, absolutely. If this guy is willing to talk to me, then of course I'll sort of talk to him back. So it's fun to play that. I think that's what I think is great about the show as a whole. It's such a lovely ensemble, and there's so many different interactions and dynamics there. But that Ted Nate is a really lovely. It's a kind of father son thing, or brotherly kind of thing. I know Jason's a big fan of. So
and I think like that is sort of an interesting thing, is that Nate is a character who is sort of low in the totem pole that Ted really invests in and puts value in. How does that sort of like, are there parallels with putting together a TV show in the terms of like having a sort of culture where everyone is viewed as important and it has something to contribute?
I think with this show, and again, I'm not just saying this, but with Ted Lasso in particular, there is such a creative and genuinely constructive atmosphere on set. Of course, there is an element of hierarchy in that you've got the creators of the show and the writers of the show, who are naturally in charge of that. That side of things. We'll get given scripts and they'll be discussed. But absolutely, there is so the atmosphere that if you feel you have an idea, you want to tweak a line, you want to naturalize it or suggest something different, or even just talk to them about the justification behind particular lines, there is such an open and honest atmosphere. And part of that is because there's a lot of mutual respect that kind of goes around. But they're such respectful writers. Now that the show is cast, they really kind of, I think, write to our strengths and our voices as well. If there is such a lovely atmosphere to feel that, if you did want to question something, you could. And whereas there've definitely been, not necessarily projects that I've been involved in, but there has been, stories of a culture where, you'd maybe sort of fear the writer, and you wouldn't be able to kind of question particular lines. You just got to go and do your side of things, the acting, and not question the writing side. But it feels very collaborative on set, and there are always tweaks on the day. Even if we've had the scripts weeks in advance, we'll always look at the scenes once we're on the set and see how they can be improved. And it's just a terrific outfit in that respect.
Yeah, that's really cool. Do you have a was there a favorite moment for you to film in the course of the?
I quite liked the roast scene was obviously really fun. A lot of the football stuff. I remember that final game in episode 10. I remember it was like literally the last day of the shoot, and it was a night shoot, and it was chucking it down. It was November, and so it was really cold over here. And but there was a real sense of, I can't believe we kind of got to the end of this, and the real sense of joy. And kudos to those footballers as well, because I remember it was chucking it down and they were freezing, but there was such a genuine sense of camaraderie, and it made me feel for a second like this is must be what it feels like to be part of a football team who have taken part in a league and worked alongside each other, and really sort of typified that teamwork. And I remember specifically Jason giving a little speech at the very end of the shoot, and we'd wrapped the whole series, and it was 4 or 5 in the morning or something, and him just giving a very TED-like speech actually that moved pretty much everyone to tears. Everyone's tired and exhausted, but delighted by being grateful for the work, but just to have been part of a wonderful show. And that really stuck with me. That felt in a way a little bit like the promotion of Nate in episode 10. It was that same feeling, but just in real life, I guess.
When I first sort of heard about this show, sort of trailer stuff, I expected to find it funny. I expected. I thought the premise was really good. What surprised me was the show's heart. You think I primarily knew Ted Lasso from sketches and not sort of a long form narrative. What do you think is the secret to that heart of Ted Lasso? The series.
The series. I think the secret is that it trickles down from the top, and that is because Jason is Ted. That heart comes from Jason and his the creative team around Jason, Bill Lawrence, Brendan, Joe Kelly, and all the writers as well. And it genuinely just trickles down, through the casting process, and now that we're an ensemble and a team, you really feel that, and that's pervasive across the whole shoot and every side of it. We feel like a kind of company of players doing a theatre show in some respects. There's a lot of respect for each other, and again, I think that's sometimes quite rare. And but it just comes from the top. That's where the true heart of the show is.
What have you learnt from being on Ted Lasso and that experience?
So much. I mean, in a way, I feel like, every time you act in a show, you want to kind of improve and stuff. I guess I hope I've sort of improved as an actor, but I think the thing I've really, really learned is, and I know Jason said it in one of his acceptance speeches, this idea that you're only as good as the person you're acting with. And I absolutely so strongly believe that. It is such a strong ensemble and so wonderfully cast that, I think everyone basically just complements each other, and sort of seeing how that, by kind of working as a team in that way, you can achieve a lovely and wonderful end result. I've really taken that away. I guess that spirit of positivity and teamwork, which is what the show's about, is really what I've taken away, just as an actor, as well as the character of Nate sort of experiences that in the show, but as an actor acting as part of this team, I've taken that message away as well. So I feel incredibly lucky and grateful to have been a part of it.
Well, Nick, thanks so much for talking with us today. People watching this interview can go to goldderby.com to make your own awards predictions and watch other interviews with award contenders. And Nick, all the best for Ted Lasso Season 2 and all the best for the upcoming Emmy Awards later this year. Yeah, have a good one.
Matt, thank you. And I'm very grateful to speak to you. But thank you very much.
Yeah.